representatives are apportioned district among the several states, so that we get we get the respective areas. So you want to think about in the time frame is like Pennsylvania would be more would have a bigger kind of apportionment than South Carolina or than Arkansas.
Can I just stop for a minute in case anyone wonders why are we talking about the redistricting? It's because this is the hottest issue out there with Newsom, as they say, Newsom and Trump in Texas. It's like Texas. If you, okay.
And
so just want to make sure.
She just got, she just got booted out of her congressional seat, right, out in Texas. Wow. So this is what they've been doing. And by the way, that's why it's so fascinating. You guys got to be looking at these areas here, right? So, and here's what it did. It excluded the Indians. It's real interesting. And by the way, the Indians and the other races, including the blacks of the time frame, were actually, they fixed that in the 15th Amendment.
Okay, and you're saying they excluded it in the 14th, but they fixed it in the 15th. Okay,
right. So they came back and fixed it. So what it said is that except for participation in rebellion, the reason why, and we'll talk a little bit more about rebellion with that too. So the basis of the representation shall be reduced in number by male citizens. Now, the 19th Amendment, you can read about later, is where we get the suffrage one, where we get the women that are then counted. Okay, so that's a little bit later on with that kind of thing. So this apportionment is really the districting, okay? And this is where the Democrats are having a little hissy fit with that too. So let's show you some of this stuff. So Trump, here's where Gavin Newsom's having a hissy fit. They're about ready to take 20 seats in Congress, right? And he says, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 is about to eliminate all the black and brown communities. Well, guess what? SCOTUS knocked them down. Why did SCOTUS knock down the Voting Rights Act of 1965? Because they were looking at the 14th Amendment. See, they look at not the Voting Right Act. They were looking at the Constitution.
That's what they're there for, right? They're there to
look at the Constitution before they look at a Voting Right Act. Okay. This is what people don't understand. And this is that they have to be beholden to the Constitution. Okay. This is why Trump is just smacking them in the face, right? Now, I want you to see this map, and you don't have to look at it real close, okay? These are some of the southern states. This is before the Democrats held 24 seats. It's actually way more than 20. These are some of these seats. And if you notice in Georgia, this little area right here that you can't see very pretty is Atlanta area. This was where Trump lost in 2020, okay? And this is where all that we will all win. Do you see how those blue areas will just go right to red, or frankly, Patriot kind of thing? They're freaking out. And you got to ask the question, why are we doing this in 2025 and not before, in the 2026 midterm? It's because it's all getting fixed. 2020 is getting fixed.
Okay, now can I clarify?
Yeah.
So the map is the way it has been in the recent history. The one on the left with all the
for decades.
For decades. The one on the right is what Trump is bringing it to, where through our own redistricting, which is according to the law, according to the Constitution, we can do that. Am I saying that right?
Yeah. So what this is doing is just looking at the map, or looking at the area of people of where they actually live, who lives where. This is actually looking at no more gerrymandering. This is the other term that they utilize. This is the gerrymandering that the Democrats have been doing, and messing around. This is part of the voting rights that they've been screwing around with, and the gerrymandering that they've been messing with. And this is going, no, this is what it actually has
Okay,
been.
so now I don't want to be dense in this. I want to make sure I understand it, so other people can if they don't, if they're being like me. Is Trump redrawing lines, or is he removing? What is he doing to have this map that's all red? Is he taking out damaging lines that the Dems put in, or is he changing the lines to be more representative?
Here's what he did. He took out the crazy lines that the Democrats just put in there arbitrarily.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so that's what he did. He just kind of took out the lines out there that weren't even really there. You know, it doesn't mean that in this particular, you know, sort of blue area, it doesn't mean that they can't vote in a Democrat. It doesn't mean they can't. It just means that they can't do it on purpose only. That's what it doesn't mean, that they can't have a Democrat here or they can't put a Democrat over here. That doesn't mean at all. But it means that they can't like shove in a Democrat on purpose.
It's all of this particular argument has more to do with seats in Congress as opposed to who's elected next, right?
Correct. And so these are where they have to put the seats in. And so that's what they've done is they've like cherry picked in their that's why when we look at these areas, and you haven't even seen it in California. By the way, that we haven't even seen the full amount in California. That's why Nancy Pelosi has been stuck in there for 47 years. She's been gerrymandered all the way through in California. No one really wants to talk about that. That's why in Minnesota, I was up in Minnesota 2 different times for business. And people go, there's no way that the Democrats really are where they are in Minnesota, because no one wants them there. And the reality is they're so against where these people are. The Democrats have no standing anywhere among anyone. And so that's why I'm trying to say that this issue has to be related to the number of people that are there. And so and
in this case, or in all cases, it's the number of, not the number of people that are there, it's the number of citizens that are there.
Correct.
Which is a huge difference, because there's these massive millions and millions of illegals. It doesn't matter how many they got if you can keep them from voting illegally.
So these are the fake illegal citizens that they've just placed into those areas. So that's why they've done this. They've had fake illegals that have been called Democrats in those areas. So, by the way, those are great questions, guys. He's asking excellent questions that you guys needed to know about that I wasn't answering to. So that's perfect.